Hello, everyone, and welcome to Simple English Connect. I'm Anna, your host, and today we're talking about something very important for anyone learning English: bad habits that ruin your English. We all work hard to learn, right? But sometimes we have habits that actually stop us from getting better.
And that's exactly what I, Alex, your expert, am here to help you with today. We'll look at these common bad habits, why they cause problems, and most importantly, give you simple, helpful tips to fix them. Our goal is to make your English journey easier and more effective.
I've definitely had many of these habits myself when I started learning, so I understand the difficulties. We're going to talk about some common problems that slow down progress and make learning feel harder than it needs to be.
Before we start, a quick but important reminder. Don't forget, on our Patreon page, you can find a free, special PDF file. It has all the important words, useful phrases, and practice exercises from today's episode. It's a great tool to help you review, practice, and really remember what you learn here.
So, are you ready to bravely find and stop some habits that might be holding you back and significantly improve your English skills? Let's begin. So, Alex, let's start with what I think is perhaps the most common and harmful habit for many learners, including me when I started. I call it the direct translation trap. When I first began learning English, I would carefully translate everything word for word from my native language directly into English. And what happened? It often sounded incredibly, strange, unnatural, and sometimes even funny.
You are completely right, Anna. This is a very common habit, especially for learners at A2 and even early B1 levels. It feels natural to translate because that's how we think in our own language. However, when you translate directly, you often ignore the natural way English sounds, its special phrases, idioms, and its specific grammar rules. Every language has its own unique way to say ideas, feelings, and actions. For example, in many languages, you might literally say, make a photo. But in natural English, we always say, take a photo, or put on makeup instead of do makeup. These are fixed expressions.
Yes, exactly. It can be really confusing not only for the person speaking, but also for the listener, and it definitely makes your spoken English sound forced and less natural.
Exactly. And closely related to this direct translation trap is another equally bad habit: learning words alone. Many hardworking students just make long lists of single, unconnected words. While remembering individual words is sometimes useful, a word by itself doesn't give you enough information. It doesn't tell you how to use it correctly in a sentence, what small words it often goes with, or what other words it frequently combines with to form natural word pairs.
Oh my goodness, Alex, I am so guilty of that. I had whole notebooks full of columns of English words and their translations. But then, when I actually tried to make sentences or talk, my mind would go blank. I just couldn't put those single words together correctly or smoothly. It was like I had all the separate ingredients for a delicious meal, but absolutely no recipe or understanding of how to mix them.
That's a truly perfect comparison, Anna. It clearly shows the problem. Many studies about language learning consistently show that learning words in context, specifically in phrases, common word pairs, or short, meaningful sentences, helps your brain remember them better and use them much more naturally. It's like building a small, complete puzzle piece by piece, where each word fits perfectly with its neighbors, instead of just having a scattered pile of separate pieces that you try to force together.
So the main idea here is that instead of just remembering the word happy, it's much better to learn it in expressions like, I feel happy, she looks happy, or we had a happy time. That makes so much more sense. It's about understanding how the word works and lives within the English language.
Exactly. Learning in context helps you speak more naturally, improves your fluency, and very importantly, prevents the awkward or incorrect way of speaking that often comes from direct translation. It helps you understand English more intuitively. Let's take a moment to look at some key words we've just talked about in this part. Understanding these words will help you talk about these common learning problems. Trap. Definition: a difficult situation that you cannot easily escape from, often because you are tricked or make a mistake. For example, he fell into the trap of direct translation, which slowed his progress. Guilty of. Definition: having done something wrong, made a mistake, or been responsible for an undesirable act or habit. For example, many students, including Anna, are guilty of learning vocabulary in isolation. In isolation, definition: separately apart from other things, or not connected to other parts. For example, learning words in isolation is less effective than learning them in context. Analogy. Definition: a comparison between two things that are similar in some way, often used to explain a difficult idea or concept simply. For example, Anna used a great analogy about ingredients and recipe to explain word learning. Phrasing. Definition: the way in which someone says or writes something, the choice and arrangement of words. For example, direct translation can often lead to awkward and unnatural phrasing in English. Prevalent. Definition: existing very commonly or happening frequently, especially in a particular place or among a particular group. For example, the direct translation trap is a very prevalent issue among language learners.
So, listeners, we want to hear from you. What do you think about the direct translation trap and learning words alone? Have you ever found yourself doing this, maybe without even realizing it? Or maybe you've already tried to change these habits.
Think about a very common phrase or idiom in your native language that doesn't translate word for word into English. How would you normally say it in English using natural phrasing and avoiding direct translation? For instance, if in your language you say to make sport, how would you say it naturally and correctly in English? Or think of a common greeting.
Share your thoughts, your experiences, or even your examples in the comments section below our podcast. We love reading your ideas. And remember, it's absolutely okay to think about past habits. The important thing is that we learn and get better. For me, instead of make sport, I would now confidently say to do sport or to play sports, depending on the specific activity. What about you?
All right, let's move on to our next set of common bad habits, which are connected: the big fear of making mistakes and the resulting lack of active speaking practice. This fear is probably the single biggest problem for many learners. They become so worried about saying something wrong, sounding silly, or being misunderstood that they choose to stay quiet, which stops their own progress.
Oh, Alex, this is so true. I clearly remember feeling incredibly shy and nervous when I was starting out. My thoughts would constantly race. What if I sound ridiculous? What if people don't understand my accent or my grammar? What if they laugh? So my natural reaction was just to keep quiet, avoiding any situation where I might have to speak English publicly. It was a very limiting experience.
And that, Anna, is exactly where the main problem is. Language learning, especially speaking, is about practice, regular, active, and sometimes imperfect practice. As a lot of research from reliable organizations like Cambridge English consistently shows, the advice is clear. Don't worry about making mistakes. Communicating is the most important thing. A student who bravely speaks a lot and makes a few mistakes will definitely improve much, much faster than someone who stays quiet, perfectly avoiding errors. Mistakes are not failures. They are a natural and necessary part of learning. They don't mean you don't know something. Instead, they show exactly where you need to focus your efforts and improve.
So what you're saying is that we should actively welcome our mistakes, almost be happy to make them. That sounds strange, and it certainly feels difficult for people who like everything to be perfect. But it also sounds incredibly freeing and helpful.
Absolutely. Think of mistakes not as walls, but as stepping stones. Each mistake you make gives you useful information. It's a chance to learn, to correct, and to make your understanding stronger. It's like a compass pointing you in the right direction for improvement. And this important change in how you think leads us directly to the next harmful habit: not practicing enough, especially active speaking. Many dedicated learners focus too much only on passive activities like grammar exercises, reading a lot, or listening.
Yes, that was exactly me. I would carefully read countless articles, watch English movies with subtitles, and finish endless grammar exercises. But then, when it came to actually speaking, my mouth felt, well, just stuck. The words wouldn't come out, or they would come out clumsily.
That's because speaking is a very active skill, just like playing a musical instrument, swimming, or riding a bicycle. You can theoretically read every book ever written about how to ride a bike, but you will never truly learn until you actually get on it, push off, fall a few times, and keep trying. The same rule applies directly to English. You need to actively produce the language to get your mouth, tongue, and brain used to making English sounds and sentences.
So for our listeners who might not always have access to native English speakers or people to talk with, how can they realistically practice speaking more? What are some practical, everyday ways?
That's an excellent and very common question. The good news is there are many effective ways to practice speaking, even if you're learning alone. You can talk to yourself in English, describe your daily activities, describe things around you, or simply say your thoughts aloud. For example, I'm making a cup of tea now. The water is boiling. Record your voice. Use your phone to record yourself speaking. Listen back to find parts where you stop, say words incorrectly, or use wrong grammar. It's a very powerful tool to fix your own mistakes. Join online language exchange groups or apps. Websites or apps like Tandem or HelloTalk connect you with native speakers who want to learn your language, offering a useful exchange for both people. Shadowing. Listen to a native speaker from a podcast, movie, or audio clip, and try to repeat what they say almost at the same time, copying their way of speaking and rhythm. Describe your daily life as you go about your day, in your head or aloud. Describe your actions in English. I'm going to the shop now. I need to buy some milk and bread. It's all about making English an active, regular part of your daily routine, even in these seemingly small, consistent ways. Let's make sure we understand some important words and phrases from this second discussion part. Barrier. Definition: something that stops progress or makes it difficult for someone or something to achieve a goal. For example, fear of mistakes is a huge barrier to speaking English fluently. Silly. Definition: showing a lack of good sense or judgment, foolish or absurd. For example, don't be afraid to sound a little silly when you're practicing a new language. Embrace. Definition: to accept or support something, an idea, a change, a belief with enthusiasm, to welcome. For example, we should embrace our mistakes as valuable learning opportunities. Stepping stone. Definition: an event or experience that helps you to make progress towards a desired goal or achievement. For example, every corrected mistake can be a stepping stone to greater fluency and confidence. Narrative. Definition: to tell a story or describe a series of events, to provide a commentary on something. For example, try to narrate your daily activities in English to practice speaking consistently. Definition: in a way that is constant or done in the same way over a period of time, without variation. For example, practicing consistently, even for short periods, is key to success.
Okay, listeners, it's your turn to participate and take action. Based on what Alex just shared, what is one new, small, and practical way you can promise to practice speaking English this week, even if you don't have a specific language partner right now?
Will you try talking to yourself in English for 5 minutes each day? Maybe describe your morning routine aloud, or perhaps you'll record a short 1-minute message about your day and listen back to it. Choosing just one consistent practice can make a big difference.
Don't forget to share your chosen practice method, your ideas, or even some of your practice sentences in the comments section. We'd absolutely love to hear from you and see what creative ways you're finding to practice. And always remember, consistency is key. Even small, regular efforts lead to big results over time. Wow, Alex! This has been an incredibly insightful and practical episode. We've talked about some truly common and often hindering bad habits that can affect English learners. The tricky direct translation trap, the less effective way of learning words alone, the big fear of making mistakes, and the very important lack of enough active speaking practice.
And the truly empowering news, Anna, is that these are all habits that we can completely identify, understand, and most importantly, change. Remember our main advice. Focus on learning words naturally in context through phrases and word pairs. Use those phrases in your everyday thoughts. And crucially, speak as much as you possibly can, even if you're not perfectly fluent yet. Welcome those errors as very valuable learning opportunities, not as signs of failure.
That's a powerful and incredibly motivating message, Alex. It's not about being perfect immediately. It's about connecting, communicating, and always getting better. Every small, consistent step you take, every new phrase you use, and every mistake you learn from truly makes a real difference in your English journey.
Exactly. Consistency, a positive mindset, and a willingness to try new things are truly your best friends on your English learning journey. Trust the process and celebrate your progress.
And speaking of incredibly helpful resources, don't forget to check out our Patreon page for that free, exclusive PDF file. It has all the important words, useful expressions, and practice exercises from today's episode. It's specially made to help you remember what you learned. Use new words and make these good habits stronger.
Thank you so much, dear listeners, for joining us today on Simple English Connect. We sincerely hope this episode has given you some very useful tools, helpful advice, and new motivation to significantly improve your English skills and confidence.
If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please do us a huge favor. Subscribe to our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share it with your friends, family, or colleagues who are also learning English. Your enthusiastic support truly helps us create more valuable content for all of you.
We'll be back next time with another fascinating and practical topic designed to help you connect through the wonderful world of English.
Until then, keep practicing, keep learning, keep connecting, and most importantly, keep enjoying your English journey. Bye for now.
See you next time, and happy learning.